Too often, as consumers, we forget the scope of emotions that art can make us feel. It's easy to see why watching someone like Yusuke Urameshi from Yu Yu Hakusho overcome his enemies and grow stronger with each victory and arc is so satisfying and addicting. By relating Yusuke's obstacles with our own, we feel good about our own abilities and are inspired to grow. On the other extreme, seeing beloved characters' moments of grief and loss make us reflect on our own failures and tragedies, and the cathartic sadness we experience as a result often resonates even more than the triumph of victory. That bringing us to tears is a sign of great art suggests that art has many ways to affect its consumers than are at first obvious, and that the relationship between the viewer and the product is complex. Each piece of art leaves a unique emotional footprint on each consumer, a two-way relationship. The value of this relationship is that art can express something very nuanced as compared to other kinds of intense experiences, like even drugs. Art is not restricted by merely conveying a sense of happy, sad, or any single emotion or state, but can instead deliver a complex mixture of emotions or overarching philosophy that has the power to change someone's worldview. Two animes that deliver themes in such a way are also two of my favorites. Watashi ga motenai no wa dao kangete mo omaru ga waru wadamote and Neon Genesis Evangelion. First, Wadamote makes us cringe in a way that is all too real for some viewers by crafting Tomoko Kuroki in such a way that she represents herself in our worst moments, a true avatar of cringe. One of the most resonant moments of the show is when Tomoko's cousin Kiko comes to visit. Tomoko flounders to prove that she has a boyfriend by way of elaborate lies, dresses like she thinks a cute high school girl should look, and, when all else fails, shows off her prowess at a Magic the Gathering-like card game by cheating against children. All of this to present an impressive image to her younger cousin. Ultimately, she fails and even her younger cousin takes pity on her. Although many of us have never done these things specifically, the element of wanting to hide our true self from someone who looks up to us is just too relatable, and makes the non-stop cringe as her plans continually dissolve through her fingers in embarrassing ways more painful. Evangelion continually presents the themes of isolation and interaction by showing how each character struggles with relating to others. Furthermore, the AT field surrounding both Eva's and people of Earth physically represents the barrier that causes this pain. Each pilot serves as a unique opportunity for the viewer to understand the difficulties of being alive and relating to other people. Shinji feels the need to withdraw and run away from his problems, wondering why he even bothers with piloting Eva. Asuka, whose identity is inextricably tied to her skill as a pilot, lashes out in anger and breaks down when it is ripped away from her. Finally, Rei obediently goes about her life in a kind of automatic stupor, with mysterious thoughts about the nature of her existence and how she relates with others occasionally surfacing like a subdued scream from the depths of her soul. Wadamote makes us cringe, while Evangelion fills us with sorrow, but what they both share is the idea of persistence in the face of failure. To explore this, let's compare each anime's main character, Shinji Ikari and Tomoko Kuroki. Each of them failed time and time again, with Tomoko never evolving past her perpetual awkwardness and Shinji stuck in his childish pattern of running away from and returning to his vital role as the protector of humanity. Many people make the criticism that these characters simply don't develop and are thus uninteresting. Although it's true that neither of them overcome their difficulties, I make the argument that in both cases, this persistent failure is purposeful and serves to strengthen the core themes of each show. In the case of Wadamote, the show explores the cringe moments of being awkward and the pain that follows. A key component of this awkwardness is that it is baked into everyone's life and often follows people from childhood well into their adulthood. Not only would it be unrealistic for Tomoko to make such progress in such a short period of time, but it would miss the point that Tomoko is an avatar of cringe that represents our own failure in moments of cringe. For Evangelion, the themes of isolation and despair are reinforced by Shinji's continuous cycle of withdrawal and reintegration into his destiny. It's far more common for a hero to develop a will of steel after answering the call of action, but Eva presents a much more honest character by showing that Shinji's development is in constant flux. This may not be as valiant, but it's more honest and far more serving of the themes of isolation and despair. However, I don't want to paint the picture that Evangelion and Watamote entirely sacrifice the development of Tomoko and Shinji for their themes. Rather, their development is delayed to a time after the events of the show. Tomoko, while struggling immensely and making many mistakes, is never portrayed as someone who hates herself. I don't always agree with Digibro, but in his video about Watamote, he states that he imagines Tomoko growing out of her blunder years, and I agree completely. We get a sense of deep self-love from Tomoko, wherein she can like herself on some fundamental level even if she likes few of the parts of herself. The moment when she says that she sees herself as having the keen ability to empathize with an author's work stands out as one of the few times she acknowledges this hidden self-esteem. Although many ridicule it for its heavy-handed execution of the ideas that follow, Evangelion does not take the sacrifice of Shinji's character development in vain. First, the theme that we have a choice in our perception of our life and thus can control our life is played out many times through the story itself when Shinji finally gets in the robot and defeats an angel. What's different about Evangelion in this respect is that it also explicitly states this philosophy in the cheesy and rushed but heartfelt final 2 episodes of the TV series. During these episodes, Shinji experiences a psychological dive into, quote, a world of perfect freedom, a world in which you have no restrictions, to understand his purpose among it all, ultimately arriving at the conclusion that he has the power to change his life, which is then stated again more skillfully in End of Evangelion. Ultimately, the expression of this philosophy and Shinji's experience of it allow us to imagine that Shinji too will grow out of his constant indecisiveness. Thus, Evangelion and Watamote each express very specific themes at the expense of the immediate development of their main character, but because we can imagine the path of development that each character will take, practically nothing is lost in the process, while much is gained in the way of strengthening their themes. Both share the presentation of a complex negative experience, cringe on one hand and sorrow on the other, and offer a practical resolution, which manifests in Watamote's unconditional self-love and Evangelion's philosophical realization of self-choice. To bring this back to the main point, we are now miles away from the simple cathartic feeling of happiness or sadness, but still talking about the basic process of how the consumer relates with art. What these 2 animes do is explore specific bad feeling, but leave many people having enjoyed them and even having felt bettered as a person despite this. They do this by the expert handling of their characters to deliver an incredibly specific experience and message that the audience can relate to themselves and then apply. This is the unique capacity of art. Great art not only evokes a positive or negative emotion, but rather presents you a specific experience that leaves you with an extremely nuanced feeling toward it or understanding of it. Thus, why you can love something that on the surface makes you feel bad. There's a lot more going on under the surface than the simple word cringe or sorrow expresses. Power to influence in such a specific way is the strength of art. So, in a way, anime has the most capacity to be specific because it has more meaningful facets that can be tuned by the artist by way of the scope of animation. So perhaps, just maybe, anime has something over every other art form, and this is why anime can so consistently leave you with rich and nuanced experiences. For now though, that's why your favorite anime can make you feel sorrow or cringe, but still leave you loving it.